What's going on, guys? Noah Brewer here. I'm just sitting at my desk here getting some work done, and I thought I would have a conversation with you about what it actually takes to get to 7 figures in e-commerce, because I feel like in the day-to-day operations of just testing products, and obviously I make other videos on this channel which are, very training focused, and we don't really talk about mindset, and we don't really talk about what it actually takes to see a lot of success in this business, and that's why I wanted to put this video out there. Now, there are a lot of things that a lot of my 7-figure students have in common, and I have also been a 7-figure student of somebody else as well. So I have perspective on this subject as a teacher, but I also have a perspective on this subject as a student, and kind of what I had to do and the mindset that I had to have to actually become a 7-figure student, or a top student as many would say. And what I've seen other people go from nothing to doing, $1 million in a month, etc. and whatnot. So I just have a few points here that I'm going to cover, and we'll just have a conversation about it, and feel free to leave messages in the comment section, or if you're in my Discord, feel free to have a convo over there about it as well, which, by the way, the Discord has been fucking sick lately. If you are following me and you're following my strategies, make sure that you hop in there. I have the link to it in the description of my previous videos. Now, other than the obvious thing of like, why did my students hit 7 figures, and the most obvious thing being that they just had a great product at the right time and it got an insane ROAS and the product was just super scalable, let's throw all that technical stuff out the window and actually dig into, mindset, the types of things that a lot of people don't talk about, and the types of things that you don't really hear about that often. The first thing, and I think about this a lot because I'm at a point in my businesses as well where I am kind of at a turning point, right? I can continue going the way that I'm going and just make a bunch of money, but stay at the same level, or I can kind of tear everything apart and level up my mind and kind of get to that next level. And I feel like this happens to people in dropshipping or in e-commerce just at a way smaller scale. And the truth is that in order to get to 7 figures with dropshipping or e-commerce in general, you need balls. And what I mean by when I say this is, like, you don't get from 0 spend to 10K a day in spend overnight, and there's certain mental increments that you have to make during that increase that I feel like a lot of people just don't have the fucking balls to do. Like, for example, one of my students, it's like, okay, next step is doing a $500 a day CBO, and they get like, oh shit, like $500 a day, that's a lot of money. And it's like, well, number one, how do you expect to make 30K a day if you're not willing to spend $500 a day? And number two, if you think like that and you're not willing to lose that $500 and you're not willing to lose that $2,000, then mentally you're showing the universe, and you're also showing it in your actions, that you think $500 is a lot of money, or you think $2,000 is a lot of money. If you're not willing to put it up on ad spend, then obviously you're not super confident that you can make it back, which I understand to some extent. But there are those increments when you're going from 0 to 1,000 a day and spend to 2, and then to 5, and then to 8 and 10. Like, there are jumps in there that you have to make that you need balls. Like, you need a send it attitude, and this is why you see a lot of people in the e-com space talking about chads. Chads are kind of like the people that just kind of send shit and they don't really think too much about it. They're just like, fuck it, just launch it, just see what happens. They'll launch a 2K a day CBO and just forget about it. And the reason this is so popular, and the reason that these chads are usually so successful, is because they have the ability to disconnect themselves from the money, and they are willing to spend 2K a day to get to 10. They are willing to risk, they are willing to make that jump and spend. And I think that this is just one of the things that you need to keep in mind, that you're not always going to be in your comfort zone of spending $50 a day on ads. And when you do find a winning product and you get the opportunity to actually scale it big, you need the confidence to actually scale it big. Like, it's not going to happen on its own, and you're going to need to find the confidence. And I'm not going to lie, I've been that confidence for a lot of people. Like, a lot of people have joined my coaching or whatever, found a winning product, and I guide them through the strategy on exactly what they need to do. And I tell them, like, okay, now's the time, motherfucker. Like, now's the time to do the $1,000 a day thing. And they're like, oh shit, like, I hope this works. Like, they're all scared, and I can just tell that they wouldn't do it if I wasn't there, if you know what I mean. So, like, I've been this support person and this confidence person for a lot of people, and I think that is one of the things. Like, if you can't do it for yourself, you need to find somebody that can do it for you, and somebody that you trust that can instill the confidence in yourself. But fuck that, do it yourself. Grow the balls, and if you want to get to the next level, then take the risk, make the jump, and have those balls that you need to get there. The next thing that I think is really worth mentioning, that I feel like a lot of people don't think about when you're just on your day-to-day, is that I don't think a single one of my 7-figure students, obviously me included as a student, The seven-figure store was not the first store. And I think there's a lot of things that go into this. I think there's a lot of reasons why it's not the first store, such as, payment processing and your ability to scale your ads and your ability to deal with fulfillment. Minus all of those things, I think it's important to know that one of the things that I think makes very successful people different is after finding their first store, their second store, like their first winner, their second winner, they continue going, right? And I've seen a lot of people come into, my coaching or my agency, get a store to like 30K in sales. Maybe they make like 5-6K in profit, right? Like nothing crazy, but it's enough to kind of recoup the money that they spent finding that winning product and also test a few more. And then they just fucking stop. And it's like, why are you stopping? You came here to do 100K. Why are you stopping at 30? Or you came here to do 1 million, like whatever the person's goal is, why are you stopping at 30? And maybe they have the mindset of like, oh, like it just didn't scale as fast as I thought it would, or whatever. It's harder than I thought it would, whatever the reason. I do see a lot of people get into this business, hit a certain number, and either get complacent or they get discouraged and they don't continue testing. Whereas I've had so many students, like I've been in this game a long time. I've had so many students that, I've worked with, 3 years ago. When I met them, they were little fucking pipsqueaks in the e-com game, asking me to review their store. Today, these people are pushing millions of dollars a month. And the reason is because back then, they were making these stupid mistakes and they were doing these, little stores and a couple of them, but they just kept fucking going, right? Like they literally just kept going. And I guarantee you, if you know somebody that has a 7-figure store, I would say very rarely it's their first store. It's usually their third, fourth, fifth. Like there's a learning curve that you have to push past, as not even to mention the technical shit like fulfillment and payment processing at that scale. In order to hit those numbers. So definitely something to note, that do not expect to make 1 million on your first store. As a matter of fact, I think it's perfectly okay if you do like 10K on your first store. I have people come to me all the time and they're like, yo, I found a little winner. It didn't do any crazy numbers, but it showed me that this is possible. And now I'm ready to go again, right? And they keep on testing to find their next winner. And like most of the time, their next winner is a lot bigger, if not, double, if their first one was 20, maybe they do 50 on their next one and 100, whatever. It's a progressional thing, and not every single product, not every single store is going to scale to 1 million, and it's probably not going to be your first. Another thing that I really think is worth mentioning is that you need to have interest in e-commerce in general, as a long-term business plan for yourself. Not even like a business plan, like a life plan. And what I mean by this is like when you wake up in the morning, your goal should be e-commerce. When you go to sleep, you should be thinking about e-commerce. Like this should be your life. It should be your number one goal and mission in life to make e-commerce work for yourself. And I'm not talking about testing products and scaling products and all that nifty shit. I'm talking about just e-commerce as a whole, right? Like you should have it mapped out. You should have a vision for where you want to be in 10 years. And part of that vision should be, I want to own, a lot of different dropshipping stores following this method. Or maybe you see yourself being a big ass brand owner and actually getting your products into like physical retail stores or working with influencers. You should have a complete vision for how you see e-commerce playing out into your life, and not just look at it as I'm going to test 2 products a week and find one winner every 3 months and make 20K every 3 months. Like fuck that. Look at it as a plan to actually grow your life and grow your business and expand and make sure that you level up when the time comes. When you hit multiple 7 figures, take the leap and get into branding. Expand your knowledge base, get into influencers, get into Facebook ads, TikTok ads, Google ads. There's so many things that you can do out there. Get out into the world, start networking with people. There's so much that you can do when you start looking at e-commerce like it's a real business and a lifestyle, and not just like something that you're doing on the side to try to, make 10K next month. Because it really is a business, it's a lifestyle. I indulge myself a lot into networking, right? Like that's just one of the things that you do as a part of a lifestyle in this business, going to events, meeting people online. Like I've had so many people that I've met online and then actually flew out to meet them in person, after developing the relationship. Another thing to note is that when you view business like this and when you view e-commerce like this, you're going to start finding appreciation in the small losses and also the small wins, right? This goes back to what we talked about earlier, where your big losses and your small wins and your small losses, like all these things at the end of the day will add up into making you a better person and a smarter person for running your business in the future. A lot of people get into this game, lose a few $1,000s, and end up super pissed off because they lost their life savings, right? Like it's like that. But many people come into this game and sure, they might lose thousands of dollars, but if you look at it as a loss, obviously it's going to be a loss. If you look at it as a learning experience and you actually became a better person because of it, that's a totally different thing. I've lost a lot of money on a lot of different business ventures that I've attacked in my life, and I've never sat there and been like, oh fuck, like I lost this money. No, usually I'm thinking like, okay, not gonna do that again, like glad I got that out of the way and I don't have to do that again. And a lot of the mistakes that I have made are like, damn, I'm thankful I made this mistake at this level as opposed to, this level. Like I'm glad I made this mistake at 50K a month and not at 5 million a month, right? Because I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking one day I'm going to be doing 5 million a month, so it's better that I learn these lessons now and bite the bullet now before it becomes a real problem. So it's just a totally different perspective when you think of something as like a long-term game, and it's just something that you need to have if you want to get to $1 million. Obviously, unless you just get lucky, but we're not talking about that right now. Another thing to keep in mind is you're not done. Like once you scale a store to 50K, you're not done. Once you scale a store to 300K, you're not done. Once you scale your store to $1 million, you're also not done. Like you're never fucking done. And a lot of people don't understand this. I would say mainly because they have predetermined ideas of like what made it means based on the way that they were raised or the people around them or whatever. And I think that there's always ways to expand. There's always ways to go bigger. Like I've seen people doing $1 million a month with, drop shipping. I'm like, wow, that's fucking crazy. And then a week later, I'll see somebody doing 30 million a month with, probably not drop shipping, but like an actual brand. But I see somebody doing 30 million a month. I'm like, holy fuck. Like this is actually possible. Like Jesus Christ. And it's just really, really insane. Like the total amount of revenue I've generated across all my clients entirely, this fucking dude did last month. And I'm like, damn, right? There's always a way to level up. So, and like I said, this all kind of wraps up into one kind of piece of advice, which is like, if you treat e-commerce like it's a side project or a get-rich-quick scheme or something, it's gonna treat you like you're a side project and a get-rich-quick scheme. The people that really end up crushing it are, pushing a lot of numbers, but in their mind, it's fucking crazy. Like I said, wake up e-com, go to bed e-com. Wake up e-com, go to bed e-com. You're at work. I've had students, that work a job and they literally do e-commerce at work. They'll send me a message like, yo, I'm working right now, LOL, building my store, right? Like it's literally their life. And that's the kind of mindset that you have to come into this with. So another thing that I was doing is I was sitting down and analyzing kind of like my packages, for my agency and my consulting. And I was kind of just thinking like, is this really the best thing that we could put together? Because I've had 4 7-figure students and I know, the things that they did to get there. I know the mindset that they needed to have. I know all of this stuff. I've seen it multiple times. Like I said, I've even been a 7-figure student myself, so I know what is required to hit this number. And I just asked myself, like, what would be the best way to take somebody from 0 or, wherever they're at all the way up to $1 million in sales? Like, how can I actually restructure my consulting or my agency or whatever to actually be, give somebody the highest chance for success, and not only just success, but also to not give up after their first store and actually see it through and make sure that they have the balls and the confidence to get to the next level, and they have the community and the people around them to network with, to diversify amongst different channels and do all these different things. And I think I got it. So I'm gonna share my screen right now and show you what I believe is the best way for me to be able to take you to 7 figures from either nothing or wherever you're at in your business. So this is basically a client journey. Now I have previous client journeys of what I've done for my previous programs. This one is 1,000,000 times better, and let me explain to you exactly why. Basically, the first thing that I think everybody needs is a real plan. And my way of saying this is, onboarding strategy session, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But basically, this allows me to really look into somebody's life, their income, their abilities, their previous experiences. Do you have a store before? Are you brand new? Have you had a winning product before? Are you able to make your own content? Basically just breaking down all the factors and coming up with a custom built plan, that matches the budget and matches the goals. For example, if you're somebody who has a small smaller budget, then your plan would look something like, testing 1 or 2 products a week. But if you're somebody who has a little bit more experience and a little bit of a higher budget, then your plan might be a little bit more aggressive, where you're testing a lot more products per week and doing a lot more. So first off, you need a plan. Whether or not you're in this program, you need a plan, and you need to have an idea of like what you're doing and where you're going, or else you literally have zero shot at getting to 7 figures. Even without a plan, you need something in your mind where it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and this. And obviously a plan is just putting it down on paper, but everybody has a plan of some sort. The next thing is actually understanding the fundamentals of what you're actually doing. Now, the way that I break this down for my students is I give them a course that goes super in depth on literally every piece of e-commerce. It goes down, how to find products, right? How to analyze products, figure out what products are good to sell or whatnot, how to build your store like in a replicable way where you're not questioning, is it my store that's not working when you're testing products. The best way to get ad creatives and how to make sure that your ad creatives are actually, meeting certain criterias that we've used to find winning products in the past, launching your test campaigns and analyzing the test campaigns. So make sure that you understand the fundamentals of what you're trying to do entirely. Like, don't go into product testing not fully understanding all of the dynamics that go into building a website, right? Make sure that you understand all the basic criterias of what you have to do. The next one is obviously mentoring, which I have done in the past. It's nothing new, but this time we have a plan, right? So this mentoring is very like hands-on, it's very action-based, and obviously if you don't have the mentoring, then you're literally just gonna have to mentor yourself and hope that you're right. But essentially we follow the custom-built plan specifically towards what you need. So obviously we build you a custom plan, and then the one-on-one coaching really is me walking you through that plan for the first month to make sure that you do everything right and you're staying on pace with the plan. The next thing that I think everybody needs to actually hit 7 figures is a network. And my way of portraying this to my students is with a Discord channel that I've been growing over the past few weeks. I did mention it in this video already, so you likely already know what I'm talking about. And if you're not in it, there is a free section, so make sure to go join that. I'm in the free chat all the time, but there will be a paid version of my Discord where I'm going to have all of my connections that do many different things. So not only TikTok ads, but Google ads, Snapchat ads, all these different aspects, organic TikTok, paid TikTok, Facebook ads, doing email marketing. I have an accountant in there. I'm going to have my fulfillment agent in there. So basically just having experts in all these different fields and being able to network with them, ask them questions, tap into all these different things, I think is something that you need. And if you don't have a Discord, you don't have access to something like this, then you have to get access to it through, basically manually, right? Like find the people that are good and then just ask them questions and work with them one-on-one or however you want to go about that. So that's like the base level, first 30 days of the program. That's everything that you would get and everything that you would need to find a winning product and actually get to the point where you're actually scaling and you're able to push real numbers. So obviously step 5, finding a winning product, right? Like once you have a winning product, there's literally a million things that you can do. And a lot of people get distracted, but obviously this program is going to keep you focused. So one of the things that I offer to all my students is, let's say that they work with me for a month and we get through the product testing training, they watch the course, by the end of the 30 days, I'm pretty much able to teach somebody everything that they need to know in order to actually find winning products consistently. But there are people that go through the 30 days of coaching and don't get the opportunity to actually scale a winning product during the first 30 days. Like I said, it's not super predictable. Like you can't force yourself to find a winning product. It's literally product testing. That's why it's called testing. It's not called scaling from the get-go. You got to test first and then you scale. But I give all my students the ability to come back to me once they do find a winning product, and I will help them one-on-one again with scaling. After you find your winning product and scale it up a bit, this is where having an ecosystem or a network is going to really come in handy. Because now that you have this winning product, you can start exploring, other platforms and doing back-end marketing like CRO, email, SMS, increasing your average order value. You can start doing all these things, and the ecosystem or the Discord that I'm growing is going to give my students the ability to work with experts in their own field. And if you don't have that ability, like I said, you should 100% start networking with those types of people so that once you find a winning product, you can scale out and start, maximizing your CRO, start maximizing your AOVs, and add email marketing and do SMS marketing and all these extra things. And then obviously the last step of the process is rinsing and repeating. So a lot of people fuck this up, and I completely understand why. It's, basically what we talked about earlier. Like, a lot of people hit a certain threshold and they're just like, all right, cool, I made it, what's next? And what's next is literally doing it again, but going bigger next time, right? So if your last store was 10K, now you should be shooting for the big, 30K. And if your last store was 50K, you should be shooting for 6 figures, so on and so forth. Literally gets to the next level every time. And yes, at some point, it's gonna get hard, right? You're gonna have to make jumps, you're gonna have to take risks that are a little bit harder to make. But obviously, for all my students, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be that person that tells them, like, okay, it's your time to, actually get to 6 figures. And in order to get to 6 figures, you can't be such a pussy with your ad spend. Those types of pieces of advice that I really want to be there for my students and make sure that, I can kind of be a third party and advise them on those things. So this was my answer on how I can kind of restructure my services and how I help people in order to support people and get them to the actual 7-figure point. Before, literally all I was doing was just one-on-one consulting. Now I'm doing, I'm creating them a plan up front so that they don't fall off track after the coaching is done. I'm giving them a course to teach them all the fundamentals. I'm doing the one-on-one consulting with them still, of course, because you still need it to get, learn the initial testing of how to find a winning product. And I'm also giving them the ecosystem or the Discord access to my network. This group is insanely valuable. I have over 25 people that I have personally verified have done over $1 million in sales in there, talking about TikTok ads, Google ads. I see them even in the free chat. Sometimes they're popping in there and giving advice. So even if you're not wanting to do this program and you just want, to network and meet people, still a great place to go. And then implementing these next things like the one-on-one scaling coaching, and then actually, having the conversations about rinsing and repeating and being there as a support person and a consultant to somebody who's really struggling to get to the next level. I think this is the best way to take somebody from 0 to 7 figures. So with all of the advice that I gave for the first half of this video, and you mix it with something like this, I hope that you can put something together for yourself that'll actually allow you to hit the 7-figure point. I don't care if it's working with me. I don't care if it's working on your own. The reason I have this YouTube channel is to put out information that I know and the experiences that I know and what I personally see, and let you make your own decisions, but also be there for you as a support person and give advice where I can. And I had this thought where it's like, what does it really take to actually get to 7 figures? And a lot of the people I work with are starting from 0. So I wanted to break it down. What's my plan? How do I plan on doing it again? I've done it 4 times already. I'm sure I'm gonna do it, 4 more times and maybe 10 times after that, right? However, if you do want to get into a program like this and you do want to work with me one-on-one in some sort of way or following this specific program, then send me a DM on Instagram. I'm actually doing something really fun right now where whoever joins either today or tomorrow is going to be entered into a challenge. And the challenge is whoever hits 7 figures first following the program and following the methods that we talk about, I'm actually going to be flying them out to my house here in Arizona for the weekend, and I'll be giving them in-person mentoring on how to actually get to the next level from $1 million, scaling to 2, 3, and potentially even 8 figures, restructuring their business and making them think bigger to get to the next level. So I think it's fun. If it's something you're into, send me a DM. If not, perfectly cool. But that was pretty much it for this video. This is Noah Brewer, guys, and I'm out. Peace.